Swiss Boxing Media, Umar. Thanks again for joining us. I think this is our second time now, so we really appreciate your time.
No worries.
Obviously checking your Insta, it's clear to see it in LA at the moment. Are you enjoying yourself? And it looks like you're having a bit of a blast out there.
I'm having a very good time. I mean, we've got lockdown here as well, so most things are closed and there are restrictions on others. But either way, I mean, can't complain, can
I? I wouldn't want you to trade with us our cold Welsh weather, mate. I'm sure you prefer to be in LA.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you in sort of holiday mode at the moment?
Yeah, I'm just having a much needed break because leading up to the Chudinov fight, I hadn't had a break for 21 months. I mean, I'd gone on holidays each time I boxed for a few days. They weren't even complete weeks. It was like 4 or 5 night trips. And then I'd come back and be straight back in the gym again. I did that for 21 months. So it was just a matter of a combination of that and then being suspended by the board after this Chudinov fight because of the abnormalities in the MRI scan I had. So I couldn't have a fight scheduled anyway. And then England was going into another lockdown. And I just figured I'll just get out.
Yeah, well, Umar, I want to come on to that fight in Russia with Chudinov, as you mentioned, mate. I mean, we were all expecting before that fight, it looked like you were going to fight Lerrone Richards. I mean, just talk to us about that situation. What happened there, mate? I
mean, I boxed Cody in February, end of February. And then, as I do, I went on a 5-night break to Dubai. And as soon as I got back from that, I was offered the fight with Lerrone on the 17th of April, I think it was supposed to be. So that was only going to be about 6 weeks after I'd come back from Dubai. And I accepted it anyway. At the time, the thinking was, well, clearly I'd fight on any notice. And I was, pretty much solely looking after my career at the time. So I was making decisions so long as my coaches said it was okay. And I just boxed Cody, who was a southpaw. So I just figured I could transition that over in no matter of 6 weeks. I'm always fit anyway. And then box, what's his name? Lerrone. And then, as we all know, that's better, isn't it? As we all know, this all started to kick off with, COVID and restrictions. So what I did was I trained all the way through summer, not at about 70%, knowing that the fight could be on at any moment, and then I could just give it that extra 30%. And then when that did happen, I said I was ready to go. I was on call with IFL. Lerrone said he was ready to go. And then behind closed doors, he said he wasn't ready to go. So the day got moved. He didn't like it for, I can't remember the reasons. Then he didn't like the next date, and then he didn't like the third date because apparently he was having a baby. And it made it sound as though he just found out that he was having a baby, but it was with his girlfriend, so, you know what I mean? Either way, he kept swerving the fight and postponing the date. Eventually, I went away again. I didn't say this at the time, but I went away because I was already feeling like I was overtraining. Say that again, sorry?
So you were on holidays at the time when you got off the Chudinov fight? Was it
no, before the Chudinov fight. So in August, when Lerrone was dragging out the whole process, I'd been training, and from July when it was mooted that we were going to be boxing, obviously I'd been training at 100%. So I got to a point where I was burning out, because if you imagine I had 6 fights last year, back to back, from March to December. Then January 2020, I had to start training for Cody. Fought Cody, went away for 5 days. Then I'm supposed to fight Lerrone, and keeping on. Then July, I've gone 100%. And it was a case of I was either going to burn out or I needed to take a break. So I went away to Spain. And whilst I was in Spain, I got a call asking if I would box Chudinov in 3 weeks' time. I said yes at the time, but I gave my terms, and my terms were never met. So anyway, I got back from the holiday, and I was still just chilling out. And then 2 weeks before the fight, conversations started to really go. And I remember saying, look, guys, like, if you want me to do this, I need to know ASAP. But these are the terms, like neutral judges, that type of stuff. Anyway, so long and short of it is the fight was confirmed the week before. I went out there on a week's notice. They agreed neutral judges. And then the day before the fight, after the weigh-in, they said, we couldn't get visas for the neutral officials. So everyone's going to be Russian in the venue, apart from you and your team. So then that was another back and forth, and eventually we agreed terms under which the fight would go on. And then, I had that, and after, obviously, I had the abnormalities in my brain. But, it's one of those things that it sounds really bad because it's like, wow, your brain, like, whoa. But realistically, what happened was, after the fight, I just said to my team, and it wasn't even immediately after the fight, it must have been like 45 minutes later. I was just like, guys, I've got a bit of a headache. Let's just go get it checked, just in case, And it was a precautionary check. And I think if anyone's had a 12-round fight and given them a brain scan, you're going to see something, right? I'd imagine.
Of course.
So in hindsight, should I have done it, should I have not? I don't know, there are arguments for both, but I did it. And then the British Boxing Board just suspended me and dragged the feet about letting me know when I could do another brain scan to get my license back. And I've been away since the start of November, and only I think it was like right at the end of November, so about a week ago, did they contact my manager, because I now have a proper management team. Did they contact them and let them know that I could have my next brain scan? So I've got to come back to the UK to do that. Preferably I would have stayed out for the rest of the winter, but but I'll be back, guys, in about a week's time to do my brain scan and hopefully get my license back, and then we'll get the ball rolling again.
I mean, how are you feeling, Umar? I've got to ask you. I mean, you look like you're fine, mate. But have there been any problems since, or have you felt fine in yourself, mate?
No, I've been good. I mean, at first it was more a thing of the hospital I was in was more of a problem than what I was feeling. Put it that way. So I've been good from the get-go. I mean, I had a headache. It lasted a couple of days, and then the headache went. They said they had to keep me in for close monitoring, but I was only seen to once a day. I had no food. I was in a dorm room with, 5 other people. It was a 6-person dorm room. And they wouldn't let any guests in to see me because of COVID. Yeah, I was in a dorm room anyway with a bunch of strangers, of which, every day someone got checked out and someone else got checked in. And I don't remember having a COVID test to be in that room, So that whole experience was a whole different crazy situation. But, got more stories to tell.
I was watching the fight. I don't know whether you knew this at the time or whether you've seen it since. Did you see they brought a bear into the ring? Did you see that?
I didn't see it live because I was so locked in with all the chaos that was happening. It was quite chaotic backstage, obviously by design. So I wasn't paying attention to anything else. I was just trying to lock into the zone. But I know the promoter, and I know that he owns the beer personally. He brings the beer into his promotion. So when I was told after, it's like, yeah, that's his trademark, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a madness, mate, isn't it? I want to ask you about that fight itself now, Umar. I mean, you're giving an unbelievable account of yourself, mate, and I got so many plaudits, for the performance, although it wasn't the result obviously you wanted. Do you feel that performance and that effort you put in now has risen your stock, shall we say?
I would like to hope so. I mean, I've had a lot of people compliment me for it, and I'd like to hope so, because not only had I only had 11 fights before that, I took the fight on a week's notice. So where all year I was training for southpaws. Cody was a southpaw, Lerrone was a southpaw, and then suddenly I'm fighting an orthodox fighter who comes forward, who was the total opposite of Lerrone, who's a southpaw counterpuncher. On a week's notice, went up to world level, went to Russia, the man's backyard with all Russian officials, and still put on that performance and was ahead on one of the scorecards at the end. And anyone who follows boxing closely knows that when there's a robbery, it's usually from 2 judges and not 3, because 3 makes it too obvious. So, so I think, there's a lot of credit I think I deserve. But that being said, I'm very much in the business of being, you know, a doer and a winner rather than a nearly man. So, you know, I'm not resting on my laurels or anything like that. I just want to get back in and have more fights at that level, to, you know, build my seasoning so that when I'm boxing, because that's fringe, he's an ex-world champion, but let's face it, he's fringe world level, isn't he? So I'd like to have more fights at that level, to prepare me for the world level, so that I could then, you know, fight the bigger names eventually, and be in there with a very good chance of winning.
I mean, obviously, you know, like you said, he is fringe world, if not world level. Now, reflecting back on that, Umar, are you looking to stay in and around that level, or do your team have other sort of ideas for now?
No, that's what I'm saying. So for me personally, I'd like to stay in and around that level, maybe European, you know, something like that. Because I enjoy boxing more at that level as well. I enjoy everything. I enjoy the training because I could be more locked on. I had 45 amateur fights only. Nowadays, that's not only, is it? People are turning over after 5. But I only had 9 novice amateur fights. So majority of my amateur career was against elite fighters and mostly national champions of Britain or another nation. So my experience of boxing, for the most part, is boxing against other credible opponents, you know. And that's not to say anything, that's not to talk down the British level, because, I mean, up until my last fight, I was boxing at British level. It's just that it gets my juices flowing more when the stakes are higher. And I proved that I can operate at that level, like you said. And I know that I would only get better by continually challenging myself rather than having fights where I know I'm always going to win. I mean, going by the circumstances of why I don't have a license now, and by the time I fight next might possibly be March, I'd had 6 months out of the ring. After the last 6 months out of the ring, potentially I'd want to fight where I'm a favourite to start with. Not a walkover, but a fight where even if I'm a slight favourite. And then after that, then I'm happy to go in as an underdog again, which clearly I'm happy to do.
Yeah, I mean, what do you personally feel you learned most from that fight with Chudinov, mate? And how do you use that now to push into 2021 and beyond, mate?
That you need a good team around you so that you don't have to make all the decisions yourself. That's a good one. So no man is an island. That I learned that I'm definitely capable. I've got the fitness for 12 rounds, for sure, if I can do it on a week's notice against a pressure fighter on hostile territory. I learned that there are nuances that I watch when I study boxing, that I watch and I marvel in a lot of times, but I need to pay more attention to as part of my game. And I've also learned that when your team tells you you're winning a fight, just take your foot off the gas a little bit and stop doubting them because you're in Russia.
Obviously, team there, Umar. Is that been something new that you've done? You know, getting a team around you. Was there no team around you pre-Chudinov?
What it was is I had my coaching team, but from a managerial perspective, I mean, I've got a manager in essence, but I made a lot of the decisions and a lot of the, you know, so for example, the negotiations, organizing things. So for example, you got to go Russia, right? You've got to, all right, where are we staying? Or who's picking us up from the airport? Furthermore, how do we get a visa? What's the process for that? Do we need to go to the embassy and how? But then it's everybody's visa, not just mine. So it's the coaches, it's the cut man. Then you get in there and you've got to do a COVID test this day and you've got media obligations this other day. And what time is the weigh-in? So when you're doing all of those types of things yourself and you've got to fight, it's doable, but it adds up, exactly. And what I did was I ended up, one of my friends, Adam Hart, was with me just before the visa process in England before I left for Russia. And he was saying to me, Umar, you shouldn't be doing this yourself. And obviously, he's got lots of experience. He works with MTK and stuff. And in jest, I just said to him, well, will you do it then? And he went, go on. I was like, all right, sweet. So you know, I guess he got a trip to Russia out of it as well. So fortunately, he took over from that point and did most of the stuff. But then he couldn't come out the same time that we went out, and the Russians kept messaging me rather than my coaches for stuff. So I was like a mediator for a couple of days until he arrived to take over to do the rest. So, you know, those things, when I say team, I mean more of that sort of stuff. So having someone sort out the logistics, someone doing the negotiations for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, I mean, we have touched upon Lerrone. I just want to ask you, he did obviously, he's recently moved now to Matchroom. He did fight last weekend. Did you see his performance, mate? And what did you think of it? I know there's obviously, you know, tougher fights ahead for Lerrone, but did you see the fight he had last weekend?
I didn't see the fight, and I don't actually know who he boxed. I did get a message though. So I was in the gym here in LA about midday, and I got a message when I just finished training, and it said, I saw the message when I finished training, and it said, "Are you watching this?" I thought, watching what? and it said Lerrone's on, and I was like, "Oh yeah, time difference." Obviously, so LA's 8 hours behind of London. So when it's about 12 p.m. here, it's about 8 p.m. in London. So I said, "No, I'm in the gym. I've just finished training." And they said, "Oh, it's such a ball fest." So that's quite literally all I know about the fight. And then I saw a couple of things on Twitter that I was tagged in. People making comments such as, "Now we know why Lerrone ducked Umar top boxer Sadiq." So I assume he boxed a stinker, but I never watched it myself.
Yeah, I think the guy he fought basically. He came there to survive, and Lerrone. I don't think Lerrone lost a second of any round, but yeah, it was pretty much one-sided. But Rona was vacated the British. He's looking to go for European level. You've mentioned European level. It sort of ties in quite nice. This sort of little European venture he seems to be on as well. Is that a potential now? Finally getting that fight? Do you think maybe in 2021?
Yeah, 100%. I would love to have that fight. I mean, he's moved to Matchroom now, so it makes it a harder fight. But I think between Lerrone and I, at the very least, amongst the hardcore boxing fans in Britain, we've created something where people would love to see us fight, right? So yeah, if we had that at European level, I'd love to have that, especially when the audiences are back as well. That could be, depending on what's on the line, it could be a headline or it could be a chief support to a bigger fight. I think it's a good fight, so I'd love to have it. For now, though, I'm still in LA sweating, and I'm staying fit. Like I said, I was in the gym when he was fighting, so I always stay fit all year round. It's just by nature I do. And I'm going to come back, get my license, have a word with my new management team, and ultimately they're going to present options for me, and I'm going to go with whichever one I think is best.
Yeah, so just before we leave you, Umar, to get on with the rest of your day, I should say, now in LA. Just tell us, mate, when will we likely see you now? I think you mentioned, did you say March? Is that when you're hoping to be sort of back out now in 2021?
Yeah, I'd like it to be February. Simply because I'll be ready by then, and it would mean less time out of the ring. But just looking at the process, I mean, I've got to come back and do my brain scan and send back to the board. They've taken this long to let me know that I could take a brain scan. So how long would it take them to process that and tell me I'm okay to box? So I don't know when that gets done. And when that gets done is when I can start scheduling fights. So if I'm just imagining if it's done in January and then my team start negotiating fights, ideally I'll be able to work something out where I could be out in March. But if it could be done by February, then brilliant.
Yeah. Umar, I quickly want to ask you as well, while you're out in LA, it was announced, well, sort of, it hasn't, I don't think it's officially been announced, but it was put out about Floyd Mayweather possibly fighting Logan Paul in an exhibition. You're out in the States at the moment. Is there much talk of that going on out there? Has it been anything said?
There is in the boxing gyms. I've heard a few people say that they might as well start YouTube. No, there's talk of it, but I mean, Floyd is Floyd. he's about money, and he gets a hard time all the time because people love to hate him, right? I mean, Tyson and Roy Jones just had an exhibition, and everyone was okay with it. Floyd has an exhibition, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're a sellout. You're diluting boxing." The guy's been retired for how many years now?
Yeah.
You know, and he's been on record several times saying he's no longer going to be boxing against any boxers. He's done with professional boxing as a fighter. He's retired. He would only do exhibitions or fight people from MMA or some shit. So when he says he's going to box Logan Paul in an exhibition, I just see it as it's a money grab. But for the most part, if people are willing to pay, then there's a demand for it. And if we live in a capitalist society, then, you know, let them do it. If they generate the money, it means that there's a market for it. And if they don't generate the money, then there isn't a market for it and they won't be doing it again. But it's not that they're selling it as professional boxing. So, for example, when the YouTubers were doing it, for example, Logan Paul, when he fought KSI, they both got professional boxing licenses and they made it out to be that they were professional fighters. I think that undermines what professional boxing really is and the work and how many years of graft goes into becoming a professional boxer. Or when they're blatantly calling it an exhibition, I think people just need to chill.
Yeah. And I mean, no matter what you think of Logan Paul and his boxing skills, he's a good businessman, isn't he? I don't think anybody would turn down the opportunity to make the money.
Exactly that. That's exactly the thing. Most of the people saying, or I'll say, of all the people saying he's selling, Mayweather's selling out, the ones who have the bottle to get in a ring with him would 100% do it if they had the chance.
Would you fancy chances, mate, against Logan Paul for a few mil?
Yeah, of course. I'll take a Jake Paul as well, the one who's been knocking everyone out.
Well, Umar, again, thanks for joining us again. It was an absolute pleasure. We, obviously we hope everything comes back fine with the brain scan for obvious reasons, and we really do wish you the best of 2021, and we'd love to catch up with you again soon when you're back when you're back in the UK.
No worries. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Umar. Take care, mate.
Welcome.